Good afternoon, YouTube. This is attempt number 5 to record this. I'm starting to get a bit frustrated with technology. I am going to start saving up for a decent camera. I've had issues with trying to use my iPhone, my iPad. This is going to be a bit of a longer video than my other two, as this is going to be a finishes video. So, where to start? May as well start at the beginning. So before I started cross-stitching in primary school, we had a lady teach us as our art session to do what was known back then as huckaback. I think you'll now find it on sites if you go searching as an embroidery style called monk stitch. When you look at the monk stitch, it's done bigger and with wool, whereas this is done with your embroidery threads, your 2 strands. And use a special fabric for both of them, but you don't have to. The idea is to use the strands as like loops, and it's supposed to be on the top of your fabric. So this is my little sampler piece that we did learning how to do huckaback. It's the only piece I've ever done. I've never done anything bigger. The fabric was very expensive. So this is huckaback. So you've got your basic stitches. I'll come up at the top. And then we were taught how to do a little picture with those loops. Next step was to do our name, and of course I have a very long name, so being a beginner it took me forever. And then we were to learn how to do some of the fancier designs. What's that one? And then another big fancy one. So that's huckaback. And then if you look at the back of the fabric, no evidence of your stitching other than a bit of a pull. So yes, so that's huckaback. Quite enjoyable. Tempted to try and get back into it again, but as I got older, grade 12, we did actual tapestry. I don't have that piece here. It's at my mum's place in my bedroom at home there. We had to design and do our own embroidery, and we had to use different stitches, and I quite enjoyed that. And then we also had to do smocking. We had to smock a christening dress. I do have that here somewhere in storage. I don't know where. It's hanging up somewhere. So from there, after finishing grade 12 as a teenager, I wanted to do embroidery. I enjoyed it. I loved working with thread. And then Kmart back then, Kmart in Australia that is, I think it's something similar in America, but not sure, used to sell embroidery kits and cross-stitch kits back then. So I thought, I'm going to try this, and I taught myself. I've taught myself a lot of things. My mum's left-handed and has refused to teach us a lot of things. She'll explain things, but we've had to work it out ourselves, which is good. And I was able to understand the logic of drawings. I find that all quite easy to follow. Love flat pack. It's just like a giant puzzle to me. Have always loved puzzles, so I bought a little teddy bear kit and I gave it away. And then I went and bought myself out a couple of small pieces of fabric. I didn't have a lot of money back then, but I did have some crochet books. And I taught myself filet crochet. I worked out that those patterns were the same as what I'd been cross-stitching, so I just decided to put colours in where I want, and I had some leftover silks from the smocking, so I used them to create this. It's a little bit grubby and discoloured. It was a centrepiece in a cushion for ages. When the cushion deteriorated, I rescued this piece. So and then Mum, seeing as I developed a liking for embroidery, cross stitch, had brought a book from her, I think, Double Day book club. I think they're still around. and it was a big book full of cross-stitch patterns, Australian themed cross-stitch patterns, and I proceeded to do a number of them. I don't know what order I did them in. And I completed this sampler, and the threads were Semco. Oh, hope I don't go too wobbly. Thing with using your computer camera. So it's supposed to have a name and a date at this end, but I'm not one for putting names and dates on things. So that's that one. I've also done the lorikeets, but I couldn't find them when I was pulling out all my finished pieces. From the same books, there was a big alphabet sampler, and I ended up I don't know what I was planning to do. I think I was thinking of making a quilt or something, and I cut up a whole heap of the fabric into pieces and did, I'll try and show a few at a time, the letters. So there's H and M. I sort of did my favourites first. Oh, where am I going? C, D, it's cute for dormouse. F for flowers. As you can see, back then knowing no better, I used sticky tape, and I didn't grid, I marked the edge of my fabric with pencil. So, self-taught, no YouTube back then. Well, if there was, not everyone had an internet sufficient. Oh gosh, excuse me, it's the end of the day. I've been to work and haven't done anything else. I've sat down and I've decided I'm going to get this video to work. And so that's the A. Lots, and I think I'm only missing probably about 8 or 9 of the letters. But I've given away the Semco threads, so I'm never going to finish them. So X. Oh, did the ones I thought were pretty. N. Oh, Q. Oh, where's the camera? O for awkward. Whoa, where am I? Woohoo! Sorry, hope I don't make you too motion sick. And Y for Yabby. So now, where's the X? The X was my first experience of when you get 2 colours and the dye batches have changed and they end up being the same colour. And this was supposed to have 2 shades of green in its leg, like the others, and of course it's just one solid colour of green, other than his little skinny leg. So now when I still don't buy a whole heap of one colour out of a dye batch. I tend to get down to like the end and go, oh crap, I need another one, take that bit to the shop and go match. Make sure that the dye batch I'm picking up is the same. I have a feeling one of the works in progress I'll show you in the next video, I think the beiges have changed slightly. So out of that book, did a few others, a couple of little shells, a little house, and a little flower. Oh, where am I going? So that's them. So from there, I picked up I discovered Teresa Wentzler Patterns, and it's still a work in progress. I was 19 when I purchased it, and I've been working on it for 20 years. So yes, that if you're good at maths, you'll work it out how old I am. So now some finishes. I haven't done them in date order. I've done them in type of pattern. So this is the one of the Christmas baubles by Alessandra. I can't pronounce her name. I am so sorry. I'm butchering it. I hope you can see the beautiful. Oh, where's the camera? The beautiful reds. So lovely dark red. I think you can see it if I do that. There we go. The threads were hand dyed, I think, but I don't know who by. This is before I realised I probably should have hand washed the threads. So this piece is probably never going to get washed. So I really do need to get it framed quick as before I get it dirty. Hey, I haven't made it past that one yet. So next one is the ink circles, my first ink circles. I did this after I did the Christmas baubles. I enjoyed doing the Christmas bauble so much I thought I wanted to do another one where I was just using the one thread. And for this one I hand dyed the fabric myself, and the threads are hand dyed but not by me. They're Carrie's Creations threads. Her colours and colour combinations are lovely, but they're not fixed, and you do need to wash them. If you're never ever going to wash your fabric or your piece and you're never going to have an accident, that's fine, don't wash them. But my experience from using her threads, and I've used a number of her colours, is they need to be washed, and if you happen to have a fixing agent, it really helps. Otherwise they lose so much colour. I've had some big shifts in the colour, but that was okay. I wanted to start this one straight away, and my embroidery shop in Brisbane didn't have a big batch of the same colour. Excuse me, I'm going to sit back a bit. Might make it easier to hold it up so you can see. And I rinsed them all, and they all did dramatically change, because I picked 3 colours that in the shop, while they were labelled differently, they were very close. And then when I rinsed them and washed them out, there was a big shift. But that's fine, it's how I've managed to get the variegation in it, and it's a very natural and even variegation, I think. So basically what I did was I had 3 different colours, and I just rotated each colour I was working on. So I'd do a double strand length of one, a double strand length of the next one, and so forth, and just worked my way through the pattern. So I really enjoyed doing this. It was a big sense of achievement. Now, hopefully, you'll be able... wrong way. I'll get this right eventually. Let me just peer over the corner. Yeah, there we go. So that's the ink circles, circles. I had a real sense of achievement finishing this. I don't know why, because it wasn't hard. I did enjoy stitching it, but I did there's one section of about 12 stitches where I ran completely out of colour, and I ended up having to use a DMC purple. And I managed to match it into so well that I can't even remember which corner it was that I used the 12 stitches of the DMC. I know it was one of them, I just don't remember which one. So that's pretty good, I think. So that is ink circles. So now for my one and only Joan Elliott. I saw this pattern, and I had these hand-dyed pieces of fabric, and I just thought, yes, I want to do this pattern on this fabric. It's a piece I dyed myself. When I showed the shopkeeper, she goes, "Oh gosh, Kiralee, really?" I said, "Yep, I really do think it's going to work." And she went, "Oh, I don't know." And she wasn't a big fan of the idea. I had a couple of different pieces, and I had a more orange piece, and then I had this. I'm glad I chose this piece. I think she would have been a bit lost on the orange piece. This piece is, again, it's a piece I dyed myself. I call it potpourri. It is an opalescent fabric, so you'll be able to see the sparkles. And this is Joan Elliott's Fire Goddess. Okay, I'm going to sit back. I can sort of see through the fabric, so I know. So this is Joan Elliott's Fire Goddess. And I absolutely love this pattern. I have no idea how I'm going to get her framed. I wish we had an framing artist here, like in America, Jill Rensel. I would love to get my pieces done by her. So, a couple of details that I truly love about this design. One is her hair piece. Oh, whoops! Coming close. So you've got all the beads and the cry-neck stitching. I didn't even mind using the cry-neck stitching. One tip to those all you people out there using cry-neck and hating it. You need to use, so if you're using the smaller needle, whichever it is, 26, 28, I can never get it right. And what you do is you go up in size, so you're using a thicker needle, so you're making a bigger hole in the fabric as you go through with your needle, and it makes stitching cry-neck so much easier, especially if you're using it as back stitching, like in this pattern where it's in, where's her belt? I can't even find her belt. There it is. And is it her belt? I love this piece. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a good shot of it. But I just think this is one of my favourites. So that's my one and only Joan Elliott. I do have a number of her patterns to stitch still in my stash of patterns. My mother says I'm not a cross stitcher, I'm a cross stitch pattern collector, because I will have more patterns than I'll ever stitch in a lifetime, but I think that's true for all cross stitches. So then I have a wealth of mermaids, of Mirabilia mermaids. I love her mermaids. I can go in order of stitched almost. Sorry. Ooh, which way did I do? I think it was that one, and that one. Okay. So we'll do them in order of stitch. So this is my first one. This is before I started dyeing my own fabric. Excuse me. We've got humid weather here and my hair is going nuts. And so I had never seen a Mirabilia pattern before, and I went to the craft fair and fell in love with it. She is not the first mermaid that I've stitched, but I should say she's the first mermaid I have actually stitched, but she wasn't my first mermaid pattern that I bought. I've not stitched that first mermaid pattern, and now that I look at it, I'm not a big fan of her. I may stitch her yet one day. I have a collection of Mirabilias that I've had to have, and then haven't quite got to stitching it, because by the time I finished the mermaid that I was working on, or the Mirabilia pattern I was working on, another one had come out that I had to have and had to start. So, glasses are falling off. So, one thing I will say, and I'll probably do a video a little bit later on, is her diagonal lines and her curves, because I'm self-taught, and also her spots for her beads. I'm going to do a separate video, because her patterns can get a bit unclear as to what you're supposed to do. I've worked it out what I prefer to do for myself. It's not what you have to do. There are no hard and fast rules. It's just what I prefer to do. And this video could go on for absolute ever if I started on that. So that's going to be a separate video. And yeah, so anyway, next mermaid. moving along. Okay, so I call this is the Mermaids of the Deep Blue. No, Mermaids of the Deep, sorry. I call them also, I refer to them as the twins. This one has some beautiful, beautiful stones on it. It's another piece of fabric I did not dye. I saw this piece of fabric and I just loved the movement through it and knew it would be perfect for these two. It just gives them movement and flow. Try and get back so you can see the entire effect. Hopefully you can see it. And I just love it. As you can see, I have a lot of framing to do. With the mermaids, I was going to do a set of 3, and the other one that was going to be with these two was the mermaid of pearls. I started stitching her. She's in my whips. I'll show her to you in the next video. There was just something about, I'd loved that pattern from when I first saw it. And then I was halfway through stitching her and I just got really frustrated. I think it may have been the fabric I chose. So I may decide to stitch her again later on a different piece. So that's why I've put off framing them. And then the next one, this piece of fabric again, I didn't dye. This is a piece of, I can't think what she was called, Mystic something. It was beautiful. The piece of fabric is called Serendipity. It was the last piece my shopkeeper had. It was a metre piece. Sorry, half metre. Actually, it was a half yard. It was a full yard. It must have been a half yard. A half metre. Oh, we've gone to sleep. And I've cut it in half, and the other piece I'm going to use for Shakespeare's fairies. I have quite a bit of stash and quite a bit of plans, and I keep seeing new things. So this is the fabric's called Serendipity, and this is the Enchanted Mermaid. This is the most expensive mermaid to bead. Beads costed me $260 Australian. I used to stitch her. I was sitting at the doctor's surgery. I was being desensitized for some allergies, and so I had to go to the doctor's once a week. And I used to get to work really early to get car parking, so I'd sit at work and cross stitch. And she's one of the few I beaded up at work as well, just because there was so much beading in her. Her tail is just full of seed beads. That's not Krynic sparkling, that's seed beads. There we go. You have to admit she has one of the best tails of all of her collection, I think. Personally, that's what I think anyway. And some of the prettiest beads. But this particular mermaid, I was stitching and beading her at work, and I was constantly being asked, would you sell them? Would you sell them? I said no one would pay me the amount it cost me to actually stitch them, and then I'd rattle off the costs, and they'd go, oh yeah, and then I'd go, and the beads alone cost $260. It was amazing how many people would walk away at that. And then I said, and that doesn't include the time it's taken me to do this. So it's quite interesting that people really undervalue arts and crafts. I blame the good old Catholic ladies stalls selling their lovely handmade gifts at its steel. Giving Australians the idea that handicrafts should be cheap, handmade things should be cheap. So yeah, anyway, that's my little rant. We all seem to have a rant. So this is the Mermaid of the Coral Seas. Now, I'd bought a piece of fabric by the same lady who'd done the Serendipity, and it was lovely and everything, and then I heard that she'd gone out of dyeing. I don't know what she'd done, whether she just disappeared or decided to quit or sold it to someone else. She just disappeared off the market in Australia. And I'd started her, I did about 20 stitches, and I started hand dyeing my own pieces, and out of the batches came this piece, which is actually very close to the piece that I decided to stitch her on anyway. I thought, I may as well stitch her on something that I had dyed. So this is my first completion. Oh no, did I do? I can't remember if I did have it before Fire Goddess. I did. This is the first completion on my own hand dyed fabric. You're not going to see the true colour, I don't think, but so this is the Coral Seas Mermaid. I loved doing her. She was lovely. The beads down her back area were a little bit of a pain, but I think she just is just lovely. Coral Seas, South Seas. Oh, I'm shocking at remembering the names. So you lose some of the colour in this, not seeing how truly green it is. Yes, so that's her. That's very pretty. So that is all of my finishes, other than two I have framed on the walls, and I'm not going to bring them down because we won't be able to see them through the glare on the glass. So yeah, so that's my finishes. So thank you for watching. It's getting more and more humid. We're supposed to get a storm this evening. Hopefully it comes through and it breaks the heat again, because it's not getting any cooler, and it's 6:30 at night. I'm going to go and brush my hair and mop off the sweat off my brow and do my whips. I hope you've enjoyed watching, and I look forward to seeing your comments. And thank you to everyone who's subscribed so far, and if you haven't subscribed, please do, but that's okay, you don't have to. I'm doing this because I love talking about the subject of cross stitch, and I've really enjoyed the movies everyone else has put up, especially on nights when there is nothing on TV. It's great to just hear other people's stories and what they like to do. Yeah. So thank you for watching. Bye for now.